The screams of the six-legged cracks reverberated through the alien forest, as human explorer Vincent Perry tightened the electro-harness around the gigantic creature's neck, not knowing his actions would soon send shockwaves across the galaxy. 3 days earlier, Vincent's spacecraft, the Odyssey, sliced through the atmosphere of planet Zephyria. As the flames of re-entry faded, a fleet of silver Talarian ships glided into view on either side of his tiny craft. "Greetings, Vincent Perry of Earth. I am High Counselor Xanth." A blue hologram flickered to life on his viewscreen. "Be warned, human. Our world is home to the deadly cracks, massive predators that have confined my people to fortified cities for generations. You would be wise to avoid them at all costs." Vincent smirked, his eyes gleaming. "With respect, Counselor, avoiding scary monsters isn't really my style. I'm here to study the cracks up close. Who knows, maybe I'll even find a way for your people to finally explore their own damn planet again." The hologram frowned. "I cannot guarantee your safety should you pursue this course, but if you insist, I reluctantly grant you permission to land. We will watch your unconventional methods with great interest." As the transmission ended, Vincent guided the Odyssey down through the clouds, the sprawling alien forests of Zephyria stretching out beneath him. He knew the risks, but he also knew he had to succeed. The Talarians were the first friendly civilization humanity had encountered among the stars. Failing to help them now could mean the collapse of that fledgling relationship and the beginning of a cold war between the species that could span centuries. Somewhere below those purple leaves the cracks were waiting, and soon the hunt would begin. The Odyssey glided down through the purple-hued canopy, landing in a small clearing deep within the cracks' hunting grounds. The ship's ramp lowered with a hiss, and Vincent emerged, his suit bristling with an arsenal of advanced sensors, cameras, and defensive tech. He scanned the tree line, spotting a small group of Talarians approaching, led by a tall, lithe figure with an air of quiet confidence, Zor-El, Xanth's trusted advisor. "I am here to guide you through this treacherous land," Zor-El said, his voice clicking through his translator implant. "The cracks are deadly, and the terrain unforgiving. We must be cautious." Vincent nodded, checking his gear one last time before setting off into the dense undergrowth, Zor-El close behind. As they pushed deeper into the forest, Vincent peppered the Talarian with questions about the cracks' behavior, their hunting patterns, and the extent of their territory. Zor-El answered each query with the knowledge born of a lifetime spent studying the creatures from afar, unable to approach them directly. Suddenly they stumbled into a clearing, the scene of a recent cracks attack. The broken bodies of Talarian rangers lay strewn about, their exoskeletons shattered and luminescent blue blood pooling on the forest floor. Vincent knelt down, activating his scanners to analyze the carnage. "These poor bastards never stood a chance," he muttered, collecting samples of Crack's DNA from the rangers' wounds. "But their sacrifice won't be in vain. I'll find a way to stop these attacks, Zor-El. I promise you that." Just then, a deafening roar shook the trees, and a massive Cracks burst from the undergrowth, its 6 eyes blazing with primal fury. Vincent leapt to his feet, activating his suit's force field and yanking Zor-El behind him, just as the creature charged. The Cracks slammed into the shimmering barrier, stumbling back in confusion at the unfamiliar technology. Vincent seized the moment, lobbing a volley of stun grenades at the Cracks' feet. The explosives detonated in a blinding flash, disorienting the creature and giving Vincent and Zor-El precious seconds to flee. They sprinted through the forest, the Cracks' roars echoing behind them, until they spotted a narrow cave entrance hidden behind a curtain of vines. Ducking inside, they collapsed against the cool stone walls, gasping for breath. Vincent's mind raced, replaying the encounter with the Cracks. Something about the creature's behavior, the way it had hesitated when confronted with his technology, suggested a level of intelligence he hadn't expected. "Zor-El," he said, turning to the Talarian, "I don't think the Cracks are just mindless killers. They're smart, territorial. If we can find a way to communicate with them, to understand their behavior, we might be able to coexist with them peacefully." Zor-El's eyes widened in surprise, but a glimmer of hope sparked within them. "You truly believe this is possible, Vincent Perry?" Vincent grinned, the thrill of the challenge coursing through his veins. Absolutely, and I've got a plan to make it happen. But first we need to get out of this cave and back to the Odyssey. I've got some gear there that might just give us the edge we need. Back at the Odyssey, Vincent pored over the data streaming in from the drones and sensor arrays he had deployed throughout the Krax's territory. The ship's AI worked tirelessly, analyzing the subsonic vocalizations and pheromone signals the creatures used to communicate. Slowly, patterns began to emerge, revealing a complex social structure and a language far more sophisticated than anyone had imagined. "Zoril, take a look at this," Vincent called out, gesturing to the holographic display. "The Krax aren't just mindless beasts. They have a hierarchy, a system of communication, and a deep connection to their territory. They're not attacking the Talarians out of pure aggression, but because they see your settlements as a threat to their way of life." Zoril leaned in, his eyes widening as he studied the data. "By the stars, Vincent, you've done it. You've unraveled the mystery of the Krax. But what do we do with this knowledge?" Vincent grinned, a plan already forming in his mind. "We use it to build a bridge between our species, and I know just how to do it." Over the next few days, Vincent worked tirelessly, designing and fabricating a specialized suit of armor equipped with pheromone emitters and subsonic speakers. The suit, a marvel of human ingenuity and Talarian technology, would allow him to mimic the Krax's communication signals, opening the door to a peaceful dialogue. As he prepared to venture out into the heart of the Krax's territory, Zoril placed a hand on his shoulder, concern etched on his face. "Vincent, this is madness. You're walking into the den of the most dangerous predator on Zephyria. Even with your technology, the risks are immense." Vincent met his gaze, determination burning in his eyes. "I have to try, Zoril. If we don't find a way to coexist with the Krax, your people will never be truly free. And I didn't come all this way just to fail." With that, he stepped out of the Odyssey, his suit humming with power as he strode into the alien forest. The Krax's territory lay ahead, a vast expanse of twisted trees and eerie silence. Vincent's heart raced as he pushed deeper into the undergrowth, his sensors scanning for any sign of the creatures. Suddenly, a massive shape emerged from the shadows, 6 eyes glinting in the dim light. The alpha male of the Krax pack, a towering beast with razor-sharp claws and a hide-like armor, stood before him, its posture wary and defensive. Vincent took a deep breath, activating his suit's communication systems. A series of low, rumbling vocalizations emanated from the speakers, echoing through the forest. At the same time, a carefully crafted blend of pheromones wafted from the emitters, conveying respect and non-aggression. The Krax, its nostrils flaring, took a step forward, its eyes fixed on Vincent. For a moment, the human explorer feared that his plan had failed, that the creature would charge and tear him apart. But then, something remarkable happened. The Krax began to respond, its own subsonic calls mingling with Vincent's, creating a strange, haunting harmony. Its posture shifted, the tension in its muscles easing as it recognized the signals of a fellow intelligent being. Vincent, his heart pounding, continued the delicate dance of gestures and signals, each movement and vocalization carefully chosen to build trust and understanding. The Krax, in turn, responded with its own language, a complex tapestry of sound and scent that Vincent's suit translated in real time. As the two beings stood face to face, a sense of awe washed over Vincent. He had done it, achieved something that had seemed impossible mere days ago. He had made contact with the apex predator of Zephyria, not as a threat or a rival, but as an equal. The implications were staggering. If he could broker a peace between the Krax and the Talarians, it would change the course of history on this alien world. The Talarians would be free to explore and expand, no longer confined by fear of the predators that had haunted them for generations. But Vincent knew that this was only the beginning. The real work lay ahead. In building a lasting understanding between the two species, it would take time, patience, and a willingness to learn from one another. But as he stood there, face to face with the Alpha Krax, Vincent knew that it was a challenge he was ready to embrace. As the magnitude of Vincent's achievement spread like wildfire through the Talarian cities, he found himself summoned to the capital by the High Council itself. Vincent stood before the Grand Assembly, thousands of Talarian eyes fixed upon him as he stepped forward, a captured Krax at his side. With a series of low, rumbling vocalizations and a carefully crafted pheromone signal, Vincent commanded the creature to sit, much to the astonishment of the gathered crowd. Xanth, his eyes wide with awe, stepped forward. "Remarkable, simply remarkable. Vincent Perry, you have done the impossible. You have bridged the gap between our species and the Krax, and in doing so, you have opened up a world of possibilities for the Talarian people." Vincent nodded, his heart swelling with pride. "Thank you, Counselor, but this is only the beginning. If we are to truly coexist with the Krax, we must create a sustainable balance between our two species. And I believe I know how." Over the next several hours, Vincent and Xanth worked tirelessly, crafting a plan to establish a network of wildlife corridors and protected areas for the Krax. These zones, monitored by advanced sensor arrays and bordered by pheromone-emitting devices, would allow the Krax to roam freely while guiding them away from Talarian settlements. "I volunteer to lead the implementation of this plan," Vincent said, his voice filled with determination. "With a team of your best rangers and scientists, I believe we can make this vision a reality." Xanth nodded, a smile spreading across his face. "Then it shall be done. Vincent Perry, I hereby appoint you as the head of the Krax Coexistence Initiative. May your efforts bring lasting peace to our world." Over the next several months, Vincent and his team worked around the clock, braving the dangers of the Zephyrian wilderness as they established the borders of the new Krax habitats. They toiled under the scorching sun and through the frigid nights, driven by the knowledge that their efforts could change the course of Talarian history. And change it they did. As the weeks turned into months, reports began to flood in from across the planet. Krax attacks on Talarian settlements had dropped to almost zero, while the creatures themselves were thriving in their new, protected territories. For the first time in generations, the Talarian people were free to explore their world without fear of the predators that had once haunted their every step. But not everyone was happy with the new arrangement. In the shadows of the capital, a faction of hardline militarists, led by the charismatic General Zorthak, began to grow in strength and influence. They saw the peace with the Krax as a weakness, a betrayal of the Talarian way of life. "The Krax are a menace, a plague upon our world," Zorthak declared, his voice booming through the halls of his secret headquarters. "They must be exterminated, wiped from the face of Zephyria once and for all. And those who seek to protect them, like this human interloper Vincent Perry, are traitors to our species." As word of Zorthak's growing power reached Vincent's ears, he knew that the fragile peace he had worked so hard to build was in jeopardy. The militarists, emboldened by Vincent's success, saw an opportunity to seize control of the Talarian government and impose their own brutal vision of a Krax-free future. Vincent stood on the balcony of his quarters in the capital, his eyes fixed on the horizon, as the twin moons of Zephyria rose into the night sky. He knew that the coming days would be the most challenging of his life, a test of his resolve and his commitment to the cause of peace. But he also knew that he was not alone. He had Xanth, Zorel, and a growing alliance of Talarians who believed in the possibility of a better future. Together, they would stand against the forces of hatred and violence, fighting to preserve the hard-won trust between the Talarians and the Krax. Easy. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.